What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams. Tonight, I am joined by one of my two usual co-hosts, Mr. Kyle Henning, is in the building tonight. How we doing, Kyle?
Oh, doing well. We have Chiefs news to talk about.
We do. We have
And
pretty substantial
we all finally, and
news.
you and I actually have time to finally do that without life
Yeah,
being stupid. So it's a good day.
yeah, it's a good day. Good day. Unfortunately, Arrowhead Tom is not with us tonight. He has, as
Life
Kyle
being
mentioned,
stupid.
life stuff going on, and as we all have, it's been a little busy summer for us over here at the Kingdom Says. We've been trying to get some episodes out when we can, when there's relevant news that needs to be talked about, and sure enough, there's some pretty relevant news today that was released before the franchise tag window closed for the year. The Chiefs and guard Trey Smith agreed on a massive new contract, 4 years, $94 million overall, $70 million guaranteed to lock in a very young, very integral piece of the offensive line and for this foreseeable future. Kyle, I know it is kind of this is in the writing for a while. The Chiefs
Yeah.
franchise tagged Trey back in February, and this was kind of the indication the whole time. I don't think anyone ever foresaw them not getting a deal done with Trey just because of what he means to the city and what he means to this team and how valuable he is and how he's just a fantastic guard, still young, 26 years old. So this was always going to be a thing. I feel like that number was a big number, and that's what we're going to kind of dive into today. But obviously resets the guard market, makes him the highest paid guard in NFL history. What were your initial thoughts when that finally was tweeted out this morning?
Well, it didn't take until the deadline or an hour after the deadline for it to be announced,
Yeah,
which was nice because that's kind of what I expected it to be. By the time we got down to, about 2 weeks left, I was like, okay, so we're not going to hear anything on this until the day of, and
yeah.
if
I'll take it to the very end.
it's either going to be midnight the day of or it's going to be at the deadline, and they found the middle ground. It was
Yeah,
apparently 1 o'clock in the afternoon instead of 3 o'clock in the afternoon Arrowhead time. I mean, once they made the decision to trade Joe, this was done. Like
no,
you're not losing them both. You can't.
no.
And it was an expected thing. I think Trey ended up with a little more leverage than some people thought he might have. Um, I think that's part of the reason you see the years at 4 and not 5. But the rest of this, and then maybe a little more on the guaranteed side than some folks were expecting. Again, for the guaranteed money, I mean, okay, it's going to end up about the same anyway. The only difference is you've got a little bit different cap hit in that third year being the exact same as the fourth year instead of the way that they normally structure it, where that year that isn't guaranteed has a little more air in it. But and it also, they had cap space, and they, instead of pushing all of that money into that last back portion, they used some of their cap space this year, which is
Yeah.
a change for them when they've done some of these bigger deals. It's a little bit different on the structure, so it gives them a little more room in the future to make some adjustments if they need to. If for whatever reason something else or even this doesn't go exactly how they planned, I don't envision that being the case because Trey has progressed every single year by noticeable incremental margins ever since he's gotten here.
Yeah.
In all kinds of areas, and you see all the work that he puts in the off season with Duke Manyweather, which if you don't know who that is, that's the king of the O-line masterminds. He's the guy that's basically training all of the offensive linemen that are premium in the league at this point. That he's one of the keys and cogs in that. Him and Creed are extraordinarily close, as everybody in Kansas City knows at this point.
Yeah.
You kind of had to do this at this point, and there's a lot of factors that go into this when you make that decision between Joe and Trey, because it was pretty much always going to be that. But I think at the end of the day, they've continued to do what they've done for a long time as far as, hey, we'd like to pay the really, really, really good players. We'd also like to pay them a deal that doesn't hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both sides got what they wanted here, which means both sides aren't completely happy with everything that happened, but both sides are happy with everything that happened overall. And that's the signs of a good deal is if you can see both sides getting wins in areas, that's something you want as both sides. That's usually what should happen in a marketplace deal. And for all the money talk about the numbers, the market determined this. Like this is not the Chiefs are like, hey, we want to pay you, the most outstanding portion of the market. Like this is what the market values these guys at. These top
Yeah.
five, top whatever you want to argue, 7 guards in the league. It's what they're going for. This is what guards get paid,
Yeah.
and it's not going to change because there's going to be some guards coming up here in the next year that are going to get paid this or more.
Oh yeah.
So, is it a solid chunk of the cap? I think it's 8% this year, and as the current sets for next year, it's like 8 or 9%. Okay, well they were off by almost 10 million on the projection this year. We'll see where next year's goes. So that number may not even look as bad next season as quickly as that comes. But they got 17 million, I think, in signing bonus, so that's prorated out. So there's a whole bunch of factors. This is a good deal for both parties. I'm
I
happy he's
think so.
here.
Yeah.
He's earned every bit of it. It's a guy
Oh,
that
yeah.
should have probably been a second or first round pick, third
Yeah.
at
It's
the
pretty
latest if
crazy
you
to
listen to his agent.
think of his story and how he even got to
Well,
this position. All the crazy things that have happened along the way. He was like one of the top players in the country when he was coming out of high school. He was like one of the number one rated people, I think, in all of Tennessee, which is where he's from.
he's
Ended up,
number one, one of the number one players in the country
yeah,
coming
like he
out.
was like super highly touted, recruited. He goes to Tennessee, had a couple of great years there, and then gets told like absolutely life changing information that, hey, you might not be able to ever play football anymore because of these blood clot
You
things.
might die.
Yeah, like that's, yeah. Football aside, you might not, like, this is a serious health risk
Yeah,
for you that you have
and
these
then
blood clots in your lungs, and
they get
so
that worked out.
he battles through that. He goes into the NFL draft, falls to the 6th round because of those concerns that teams had. Chiefs finally decided to bite the bullet on in the 6th round, and just what an absolute fortunate situation for him to go to Kansas City, and then to even think how he got the starting job into his
Yeah.
rookie season. I was thinking about this earlier, like the rookie season. They signed Kyle Long to be their starting right guard, and
Mm-hmm.
Trey Smith was just the 6th round back. Not many 6th round picks have a very easy path to just starting in their rookie year. And they signed Kyle Long, who's very experienced, a lot of multiple Pro Bowlers, all this stuff in the league. He ends up getting a leg injury pretty early on. Here's Trey Smith. Here's the
What did in
starting right
camp?
guard. Yeah, it was in camp. I mean, it was pretty. I don't even think. Yeah, I don't even think it was in training camp. It might have been mini camp or something that
Yeah,
Kyle
it
Long
was
got
early,
injured.
and you factor in the other stuff like his mom and everything else,
Yeah,
which that was the first person he put out on his Instagram was a picture of his mom, and this
shout
one's
out.
for
Yeah.
you. So, like I said, he's an A+ human being. He's
Oh yeah.
an A++ teammate. If you didn't watch the New Heights with Travis, that should have been a pretty good indicator.
Yeah, that was a
Um,
great episode with him. Yeah.
I mean, one of he's a leader in that room
Oh
as
yeah.
a 25, 26-year-old guy.
Yeah, that's another big part of the puzzle of why you're paying him to be that. Like, he sets the tone of the whole
Yeah.
locker room, the whole, like, he is one of those de facto leaders along with Creed to just he is the offensive line. Like, he is the identity of the offensive line. He is what you want in an offensive lineman to be bought into the city and the team. Like, it's just,
Well,
he's such a great dude. That's just the biggest thing. When I first see the contract, it's like, what a great dude, what an awesome person, what a more deserving person to get this kind of contract. And yeah, just the fact that he's so big of an impact both on the field, off the field, in the locker room, in the city. He's a great
well,
ambassador for Kansas City and the organization as a whole. Like, there's not a lot to hate about Trey Smith. You can nitpick his game all you want. No one's perfect at this point in stage. There's not a perfect guard out there, but you're betting on a guy who's 26 years old, who's, like he said, only improved every single year he's been in the league, only gotten better and better. And now you're rewarding him with, he's a part of 2 Super Bowl winning teams. Just, yeah, you reward that guy.
you're also projecting him to continue growing, and he's
Yeah.
projecting himself to continue. So, the other thing that usually happens on contracts like this is he going to be the same guy after he gets the money? Yeah,
Right.
yeah, he is.
Yeah. He's a
Why
pretty
do
humble
I
guy.
why do I feel confident in saying that? Because he's shown he's the same guy no matter what. 6th round pick, 2nd round pick, starter, what it doesn't matter whether they won in his first year. Like, it's never changed. It's always been about the work. It's always been. I lose sleep about protecting Mahomes was a
Yeah.
quote from the New Heights show with Travis and that. Like, look, or maybe that was Kay Adams. I can't remember.
Maybe
He
that was
did a
Kate
bunch of
Adams's,
little. He
but
did
even
a bunch of
still,
little
yeah.
media, but there's a lot of worse ways you can approach paying players. Look around the league. But paying a guy that you drafted, that you took the shot on, that everybody else passed on several times and said, no, he's going to be fine. We'll take that shot. And then he comes in and exceeds even your expectations, I would assume, based
Oh, yeah.
on everything that he's done. And no, he's not perfect. He's also improved drastically every single year. He's an athletic guard. He can play in space. He is physical. He can
Oh,
help
but
you
he's
with the
physical
run
already.
game.
Yeah.
He's also a center point inside the interior, which, as if any team knows this better than the Chiefs, I don't know who it is, but the quickest way to the quarterback is through the middle.
Yep.
Chris
That's
Jones
pretty fast.
demonstrates that all the time. And so you solidify not only the chemistry with Creed, which is a huge deal because you just paid Creed too. They're going to be here together for several more years. There's going to be a chance for this offensive line group as it sits to progress multiple years down the line to where we look at this and go, this is one of the better offensive lines the Chiefs have ever had. Not just
Definitely. Yeah.
this little era, ever.
But just
If
ever. Yeah.
Josh Simmons is a big factor in this, yes.
Yeah.
Kingsley at guard
He's still a factor.
should be
Yeah.
in. Jawan Taylor's last year is this year. We've known that.
Yep.
That's been expected. That's the other part of the Trey Smith conversation that I think gets overlooked a lot as far as the run game is concerned. He's basically blocking for 2 people in the run game over there.
Yeah. The only reason the right side of the line has been a little shaky the past couple of years is not because of him. I'll
In
tell
the
you
run
what. It's
game.
because,
Now,
yeah.
Jawan Taylor's better in the pass game, but that's what they paid Jawan Taylor
A
to
little
do.
bit. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's pieces of this that it just all makes sense. And you were already going to be rebuilding the left side of the line because you still didn't have a left tackle that you were confident in last year, coming into this year. So if you're going to address one side or the other, address the side that you know you have an expiring contract coming off the books next year, basically, because there's no way they're paying him unless he has a Hall of Fame level season.
Crazy good year this
And
year.
I still, even then, I think they would probably be like, yeah, that's cool. Take less or have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Which
definitely just, you're
I hope
fortifying
Jawan has the best
line.
season he's had in a Chiefs uniform.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
But
I don't think it's going to matter.
realistically, though, like you're by doing this, you're locking up another young core piece of the offensive line to build around for the next many years. You know,
And
like that's a piece that you don't have to worry about. You can plug anyone in next to him at right tackle in the next couple of years, and we know that he's not going to be. You know, that's kind of the same thing with Joe Tooney you had for a little while there, where it's like, you know, he's just a reliable guy. Like that's why you. And it's funny because people were, you know, a little crazy when the Chiefs paid Joe Tooney and they were overreacting and saying it's, you know, they were paying him tackle money and he was, I mean, I'm pretty sure he was the highest paid guard at that time in NFL history.
By
The
a
Chiefs
lot.
gave him that contract, and it's like this is what the Chiefs' MO has been for the past couple years. Like this shouldn't be surprising. Like they've made a drastic change of how they approach their offensive line, right? Like back in the early years of the Mahomes era, you were prioritizing the tackles, and you had, you know, really because you had them, which is also a big thing. But you know, you're prioritizing money in that sense, and now, you know, the past couple of years during these multiple Super Bowl runs, you've prioritized the interior of the offensive line, and that's kind of the model to follow now. I mean, there's a lot of teams around the league who are trying to do that same thing, or trying to beef up the interior first and take off pressure from that way. And
I mean, we've seen what it is to just pay a tackle because he's a tackle.
Yeah,
Orlando Brown Jr. exists, guys. Donovan Smith was here, ladies and gentlemen. Like, they were paid more money than they probably should have been strictly because they were a left tackle.
Yeah.
Period. So, a lot of the same freak out takes that I have seen today, and there have been plenty, and some
There've
of
been a
them from
lot.
people that are
Yeah.
extraordinarily smart, that are not. I swear, sometimes we don't think all the way through on certain things, that are up in arms about this or massive concerns about this. And it's like, you had the same take about Joe Tooney, and then what happened?
Two
Because
rounds worked out pretty good.
we did the same. I feel like we've had a similar conversation to the conversation we had when it came to Trent Williams. Oh, we didn't get Trent Williams. Oh my God, how much money did they pay Joe Tooney? And
Yeah.
everybody freaked out. And then, oh, by the way, guess what? He's extremely good. He was a huge piece. He helped anchor that whole side, and everything functioned around it better. And then they hit on Creed and Trey, who they've now paid,
Yeah.
because this is what the NFL, this is what you do. This is how it works. There's a reason it's a salary cap league. Being a GM is cool and all. It also sucks. This is one of the suck side of things, because they'd like to keep all of them. That'd be
Yeah.
great. It's not how it works. So they've also, with this move, changed the style of how they're going to play offensive line. This is going to be a different type of offensive line than the last couple of seasons. Well, they still have Creed, Trey, and Jawan, so what do you mean? Well, two of those guys have been playing out of their style a little bit to play with what was around them the last few years. Creed and Trey. Now, they're going to be considerably more athletic along the offensive line.
Yeah. And it makes sense
At
because you
start.
talk about how obviously you build an offensive line, and Creed and Trey were kind of one of the last additions. When they tried to rebuild, they draft Creed, and obviously you draft Trey the same year, and you don't expect him to take that big leap and become your starter. But all of a sudden it's like they're the kind of the added pieces. Now they're
Yeah,
the core.
because
Now
that
you
was the
build
year.
around them.
Well, that was the year they signed Tooney in free agency,
Yeah.
and Orlando Brown
Orlando
Jr. or
trade.
who was
Yeah.
it before Orlando Brown Jr.?
Who at left tackle?
Yeah, was it Fisher straight to Orlando?
Yeah, because Fisher got hurt in the AFC
AFC Championship
Championship
game.
game. So I think Andrew Wiley was out there in the Super Bowl or something, and then they said, "Well, we're
Well,
not
the
doing
whole
that
offensive
anymore."
line was broken in the Super
Yeah,
Bowl in that Super Bowl,
they
because
just
that
kind of
was
put
so.
pieces where they said, "Let's just put you
So
over
yeah, I
here."
mean,
Get
by that
you.
point, they had already had the two left side pieces and the right tackle, because that was, I believe, still when Mitchell Schwartz was still gonna be, but wasn't, but gonna
Yeah, he was
be.
still in the
And then Lucas Niang was a thing for like 5 minutes,
yeah.
because that injury never healed.
No, yeah.
And
That's another testament to Trey. He's been absolutely bulletproof since he's gotten here. I think he's missed
one
one
game,
start out of the 4 years that he's been here now.
yeah,
Like
one game.
that's pretty good. Like that's what you want to try to lock down. You want a guy who's showing up every day, who's
Hey, what
giving
was
great
Joe Tooney
attitude.
really good at, Garrett?
Joe Tooney, I mean, he was a technician for sure. He was
Yeah,
definitely
but what's his best ability?
availability.
Availability.
Yeah,
He
that is a
never
big thing.
missed.
Yeah, put him at
He's a
any position you
robot,
want.
right?
Yeah.
We heard about it all the time.
Oh yeah.
He never missed. And I don't know that, and not saying Trey is position versatile as Joe, because what Joe did is
Yeah.
still one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And offensive linemen everywhere told you that's not normal. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So I get a little bit of the freak out with letting Joe go and then seeing him get 17 million or whatever instead of 23.
Yeah.
Sure. Joe Tooney is 32, will be 33 this year. Trey Smith will be younger than Joe Tooney is now if they let him play all 4 years of this
Right.
contract.
Yeah, I mean that just seems basic team building 101. And I love Joe, and he is a dog, and I wish we would have been able to pay him as well. But it's just not realistic. And if you're having to make the decision, like you're investing in the future. Not to say that Joe doesn't have a couple years left in the tank, like he definitely does. But Trey Smith, you're building this guy for the future. This is you get him for 4 years, you give him another contract after that. You have a guy who's anchoring your offensive line for the
For
next
8 years,
decade.
9 years.
It's
Same
like,
with his guy right next to him in the middle.
yeah, exactly. Those two, like you keep those two pieces the same in place for the next decade. I think you're going to have a pretty good offensive line. No offense to Joe Tooney, but it's just
Well,
unless he's playing until he's 40 years old. Like
and
it's just not happening like that.
this is what New England made a 20-year run out of.
Yeah,
Hey, we're going to be a year or two early on getting out from underneath a guy than a year or two late. And then if said player ends up not having a great or isn't a great fit or whatever with whatever team pays him more than we were willing to pay him, we're going to get him back, whether they cut him or we trade him a seventh in 4 years for him,
Yeah, we're gonna get him back
and
for
then he comes
peanuts.
back and you got him anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's been the theme that the Chiefs have been trying to do the past couple of years too. I mean, we've seen it. You know, they let McCole Hardman go, they let Tyreek go. You know, you let L'Jarius Sneed go. You know, there's some of these guys who are definitely deserving of contracts, but it's like,
ask the Titans fans how they feel about the L'Jarius Sneed contract.
yeah, yeah,
Ask Dolphins fans about the Tyreek Hill stuff.
yeah. Even that, you know,
The
that's
Jets,
the big thing.
ask McCole Hardman how he felt about going to the Jets.
Yeah, he didn't stay there very long, and that's why
And
it's
then he
surprising that
came
people
back
are
and caught a Super Bowl winning touchdown.
Super Bowl winning touchdown.
So,
Yeah,
like,
it's
look,
very
guys,
surprising that people are like upset about this when it's like this is like you said, this is how the Patriots did their whole dynasty the whole time. This is the whole
yeah,
theme. And then on the other side, we've seen John Dorsey be a year or two late on players, and all of a
or
sudden now we're
five.
yeah, or a couple, yeah, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with big contracts of underperforming vets
I
that
love
Brett
Laurent
Beach had to come in
Duvernay-Carty.
and fix
Great
things
human.
up.
I love Larry. Great human. A+ person.
Yeah, LDT,
There's
you know,
no world where he should have gotten paid what he got paid. He could there. It was
yeah.
almost impossible to live up to that contract
I mean, shoot,
with
even
his
Eric Berry, and
age, with
I
future.
love Eric Berry, but
Justin
Eric Berry,
Houston's another one.
yeah, Justin Houston too. It's like you're paying these guys a little too late, and then they end up with really big inflated contracts, and then
And
injuries get to them or
and
whatnot, and it's
structuring them terribly.
structure. Yeah, the structures are pretty bad too back in the Dorsey
That
era.
was
Yeah,
even more of the issue with Dorsey
yeah,
was just some of the structure stuff. But it it's a business,
it is.
and in this business you have to run projections and models and weigh all these factors. And like I said, they've been playing a style of offensive line that Andy Reid is not accustomed to playing for the last couple of years because of the pieces that they had. And this opens them up. Everybody on my timeline for the last like 2 years, where's the screen game? Where's all the other stuff? Where that's his bread and butter. Why aren't they doing it?
Yeah,
Well, who was gonna do it? If you can only run it to one side, the defense knows it's going to that side. It's a lot easier to blow it up when you know what's coming. You saw
yeah,
that in the Super Bowl. The Eagles looked up and went, "You can't do certain things. So we're just going to bank on you doing the things that we know you can do and stop those." And they did, and it cost them. This is an
right,
adjustment again by the front office after losing a Super Bowl in a way they felt that was unacceptable. They did it in 2020. It was terrible. It was awful. Patrick was running around for his life on one foot, and yet they then went to 3 straight Super Bowls, won 2 of them. It happened again in this last Super Bowl, the
yeah,
third one that they went to. Now it's time to change it
time
again.
to adjust. Yeah, you can't just be complacent with the same things. You know, you gotta adjust. So this is the first step into reshaping the offensive line once again. Obviously, you have the new pieces on the left side. You know, last year of Jawan Taylor, they'll have to figure out the right side of right tackle next year. But this is a
So,
piece that you wanna lock in. You don't want to wait another year because then that market just goes higher. You don't want to
well, and
potentially lose Trey Smith.
then you're trying to pay him, Trent, and George pretty much all at the same time.
Yeah,
That's not going to work either.
no, no, no,
And
no.
so here's I'm just going to the spot track numbers. I have Jason from OTC
Yeah,
with
breaking
spot
down
track.
real quick.
He got it's 27 in cash this year. It's 46.7 guaranteed at signing. It's 67 million in the first 2 years in cash. The 27 salary locks next March, which is the third year of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's 70.9 million in basically guaranteed money.
Yeah.
The cap hits are as follows: 14.25 this year with about 9.5 million, 9.1 in savings from the franchise tag.
Right, which is a pretty
20
good savings. I mean, that's a significant amount of savings for sure.
Well, and if they can somehow manage to get Trent to agree to a deal between now and the start of the season, they can roll
Yeah,
some of that cap space because they still have to pay Norman Lott because the freaking
That's so
Browns and the
funny. Yeah,
Texans decided to torpedo the rest of the league on guaranteed contracts for second-round picks. But that's a separate subject.
that's a separate thing. Yeah,
It's 24.25 in 26, and then simultaneous 27.75 hits. Sorry, not simultaneous. Identical 27.75 hits in 27 and 28, with 28 being non-guaranteed money. Now, when they did the Tooney deal, and we got to those bigger numbers, they went back and said, "Hey, what if we convert some of this to signing bonus or to cash up front, and then we can spread that cap hit out, and then da da da, and then, or if you get to 27 and you want to talk extension, you can, because
yeah,
28 is funny money, and you can guarantee out 4 more years and bring the number down, like we talked about with another contract if he continues to progress as he has every year that he's been in the league, and he's now entering his prime. That's the other part of this conversation. He is headed into his prime.
yeah,
I know it's crazy because he's played for 4 years already, and we've seen a ton, and he's been great. But he's getting ready to go towards where we see guys get to their peaks in
yeah.
this
Like
next
offensive
couple of
linemen, they
years.
can go till mid-30s. So it's like, yeah,
Right.
he's easily entering. Like this is
So,
the time to lock him up for sure.
so you factor all of those things in, and then I do want to one more thing from Over the Cap from Jason, who does this as his livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the numbers, I'm pretty surprised that Smith took this contract from Kansas City. He probably left money on the table by not playing out the tag and heading into free agency next year. Almost undoubtedly so.
Yeah,
Because numbers go up.
that is
It's
how
just
numbers
the
work.
way
Yeah.
that this works.
Every year the salary cap goes up, so that means contracts are
Jerry
going up
Jones
too.
gets murdered all the time because he waits too damn long to pay anybody, and then he ends up paying more than anybody for guys
Yeah,
that he probably shouldn't be paying the most to of anybody in the NFL. He's done it
right.
like 5 years in a row. You remember the Zeke Elliott contract, guys? Remember that? How about Dak Prescott? He's getting ready to do it again with Micah Parsons, and it's not even Micah's fault. Micah's phenomenal.
Nominal,
He's
yeah,
still going to
but
end up being technically overpaid
a little
because
over.
Jerry
Yeah.
waited too damn long. Because now Myles Garrett has set it at an absurd number, and Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt want new deals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now
Ask
you
the
got to
Bengals how not
compete with
paying Trey
all
Hendrickson
those.
early has worked out for them.
Exactly. Now
Uh,
you got to compete with other, top talents on the market. Like you, that's why you
so
lock them up as quick as possible, as early as possible.
for,
That's why hopefully they'll get a deal done with Trent soon enough. Which per our guy Nate Taylor, who's newest ESPN guy, that seems like to be the next
shout
next.
out to Nate on his first appearance on ESPN Network
Yeah,
Television
that's pretty
today on
cool.
NFL
Yeah,
Live. Went out and crushed it.
yeah. So that's just overall, it's like yeah, he might have left some money on the table because, yeah,
Sure,
obviously a deal that happens next year is just going to be bigger for whoever signs it. It
correct.
doesn't matter who it is going to be; it's going to be a bigger deal. So obviously for Trey, you pick the situation that works best for you might make what $5 million more next year if you go play in Carolina or something, or like
Maybe.
for some bottom tier team who's going to pay you an exuberant amount just to help rebuild their offensive line. Like, sure, I guess if you want to do that, but ultimately, if you're staying in Kansas City, you're much happier because you're winning Super Bowls constantly. You're with,
Or at least have a shot to play
or at
for
least
him.
always in contention. You're always in contention for it. You're playing with the best quarterback in the league. You're playing with your best friend in Creed Humphrey right next to you. Everything he does in the city, all the brand deals that he
You,
has, all the
you're a
different
leader.
things.
You're
Yeah,
you're a guy in that locker room. You have a
right.
voice in that locker room. That may not be the case everywhere else,
Yeah.
especially for a position like guard.
Yeah, you're established in your city. Or that's the thing. It's like no one likes to move. All of a sudden he has to move. I mean, he might move to a bigger, nicer house now, but he's not like he's moving a whole
You don't have
state
to
or multiple
uproot your
states
whole
away.
life.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You
so,
have a
but
basis here in Kansas City. You've
but the
had so
reason
many
I brought up
memories
that comment from Jason is about the overpay conversation from others
from
inside the
others. Yeah,
kingdom. And look, man, the market determines the price. You
hmm
have a guy who studies these markets telling you he probably could have got considerably more just by taking the same amount that they're going to pay him per year this year as a full full check and waiting a year. And instead, he gets the deal done. He gets guaranteed money. He gets security.
Yeah,
He
he
doesn't
gets
have to
70
go
million
5 years
guaranteed.
because he had leverage. Because I think Kansas City wanted a 5-year deal, and I think Trey's team wanted a 4-year deal.
Yeah,
And judging by the not so subtleness of Nate's comments on Only Weird Games, that's basically exactly what happened. Um, and he probably got a few extra million in guarantees. Partially trying to make up a little bit of being the 6th-round pick who was getting paid peanuts for the
yeah,
last 4 years to help take you to 3 straight Super Bowls.
exactly. And just
And so,
well, you just talk about like how you build a team and how you build rosters. Like this is setting an example for everybody else, and we talk about that every single time you pay a big guy, in house like an in house guy a lot of money. It's like
Chris Jones.
that's setting the precedent. If you get drafted by this team and you perform well, you get paid by that team. You don't have to go to Nashville or Carolina or some random or Jacksonville to get paid to be,
Chicago.
just because you accomplished your job. Like that's what people don't understand. It's like, yeah, you want to take the money of the place that you've been and you've worked so hard for to build up this culture and build up this team. It's like, why would you just give that up for another couple million just to go somewhere else? And then it's like, I don't know. That never
And
makes sense to me.
and
That's
that's
you
what
want to
we
set the
like we talked
precedent.
about. That's what we've watched play out. You think Tyreek is happy in Miami right now, guys?
No, no, no,
He was
no.
throwing a fit about them trading Jalen Ramsey, and what'd they do? Traded Jalen Ramsey.
Trade Jalen Ramsey, yeah,
He
and
was
Janu. I know he's close to Janu too.
like,
Yeah,
if you could give Tyreek truth serum, and we may get it here once he leaves Miami,
yeah.
and that day is coming sooner rather
Maybe
than
sooner
later.
than later. Yeah,
He may tell you publicly, yeah, I probably should have just taken the little bit less, stayed there, and stacked some stuff.
yeah.
Bolstered my Hall of Fame resume, bolstered my Super Bowl trophy cabinet, bolstered all kinds of
Stayed
things.
away from a couple of the distractions. Miami.
Oh
Yeah,
God, which we all talked about was like,
yeah.
hey, he didn't have a lot of those issues in Kansas City because it's a lot harder to have some of those issues in Kansas
Yeah,
City.
you have to really, really work for those issues in Kansas City. You go to
So
Miami or somewhere like that,
it,
yeah, it's
Miami, it's if you've never been to Miami, even as a regular Joe generic person, it's
yeah,
very easy to find yourself in
pretty easy.
trouble
Yeah,
without much difficulty. It's a city that doesn't go to sleep very often.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of opportunities to find yourself into
Opportunities. Yeah,
issues that you would never find yourself anywhere else. It's just a lot. So there's a lot that factors into this, but this deal doesn't cripple them. This is the other thing I keep seeing. Oh, they paid Trey, so now they can't pay Trent or George or what?
no,
No.
that's not how that works.
First of all, they have more cap room now than they did before they signed him.
Yeah,
Is cap allocation for paying great players important? Yes. Is
yeah,
it important to not play good players, great player money? Also, yes.
yeah.
That's what we talked about with John Dorsey. That is not what this is. This is not this guy's 30. We've seen his prime. Now we're paying him a huge chunk, and this may be a problem. That's kind of what might have happened if you paid Joe Tooney a
There's a chance.
crazy amount of
Yeah,
money, or even close to what he got in Chicago. And so I understand the apprehension because of it's a guard and it's so much more than any of the other guards. But the NFL is also changing. What are defenses doing? They're getting smaller on the back end. That
yeah.
back seven is a lot smaller than it
Oh
used to
yeah,
be.
linebackers these days, yeah, it's so much smaller. A lot more pass coverage
The
heavy.
interiors are where they're beefing up unless you're just an obscenely elite edge rusher.
Yeah,
If your name isn't Myles Garrett or JJ Watt or Trey
TJ,
Hendrickson,
the other Watt.
sorry, TJ Watt, they're
I mean
both
JJ Watt too.
they were
You
both
gotta watch
freakish
out for him.
monsters at the
Yeah,
edge. Uh, Unless you're one of those guys, a lot of teams are edge rush by committee
yeah,
and their horses are inside.
and especially with some of the
Look at
big
the Eagles.
developments,
Look at
of
the
interior
Eagles.
interior guys too. Like,
The Eagles ran Nolan Smith and Montez Sweat at ends last year,
yeah,
while running Jalen Carter and 3 other animals inside.
yeah. You guys, I mean, you got guys around like obviously Chris Jones and Dexter Lawrence and just all these guys who are just absolute
Guy after
freaks in the
guy
middle
after
now.
guy.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
like
no
it's not.
slight to Max Crosby. I should have included you in the edge rusher elite category because that dude's an animal
He's in
too.
that. Yeah, he's in that territory. I mean, there's
He's
still a lot of
crazy good.
elite edge rushers, but
Sure,
still, it's a
but
league where you're.
defenses on the whole
Yeah,
are building totally differently than 5 years ago,
yeah,
than 3 years ago. Your linebackers, what, 225, 230?
yeah,
Most of them look like Drew Tranquil.
yep.
They're not the Brian Urlacher,
Ray Lewis. Yeah,
monster humans that used to occupy the middle of these fields. So what do you do as an offense? You change. You
yeah,
adjust. So you get a bunch of guys on the offensive line that are still big dudes that are also athletic that you can get out in space on these little bitty linebackers and safeties, and that changes a lot of things for defenses and how they have to approach you. The one thing that the Patriots did forever that we've watched the Chiefs do under Andy Reid is they adapt to whatever the league is changing into, and they come up with the counterpunch for it. This is another step in that direction. Does
yep.
it put pressure on Kingsley and or Josh Simmons and or I am blanking so hard on that kid's name that they signed from San Francisco?
Jalen Moore.
Jalen Moore.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say, I almost called him Sky Moore, and I knew that wasn't right, so I wasn't going to go down that road because I didn't want to get yelled at by the comments
You're
section.
right, Moore. Yeah.
Because Moore may be your option at right tackle for when Taylor leaves. Because remember, they have him on 2 years, and they have some guaranteed money in that second year, so he's probably going to be here next year.
Yeah, and he's still much cheaper than a lot of other options that you might have at right tackle. Especially if he's serviceable. Yeah, so
and especially if you don't have to go pay one in free agency. Because how did we get into the Jawan Taylor contract problem, guys? Oh, we had to go get a tackle somewhere.
Had to be,
and it happened to be Jacksonville's right tackle.
Yep.
And then it was, he's going to play left tackle. Not so much.
Psych. Yeah,
as Mitch Schwartz has said about 1,000 times. Yeah, that's not so easy of a switch because you're
just don't
completely
change size
flipping
like
your
that.
body.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Ultimately, this is just a great deal for both sides. Really happy to have Trey Smith locked in for the next 4 years, and now you go. Now you start kind of working on some of those other young pieces. Obviously, next up, Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis are going to be the two biggest topics of contention. Hopefully, I think the ideal world is you get Trent McDuffie locked up here before the season at some point, maybe even before training camp. I don't know, or by the end of the training camp. But that's the goal. You got to keep building now. You have some space. You can kind of do some things. You have more versatility.
Those two players were first-round draft picks. Mm-hmm. What do first-round draft picks come with?
Fifth-year option.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that means, as it stands right now, they have at least 2 more years of control options with one of those guys, and they have guaranteed 1 more year with both of those guys of control because they can 5th-year option both of them for cheap, and then they can tag one of them. And I'll give you a hint. It ain't going to be George that gets the tag if it goes to that point. And I love George, but it ain't going to be George.
Yeah. So, we'll...
Trent is the next step.
Trent is the next one, yeah.
But I also think
what we're looking for next.
Part of what they did with this deal was with some of those conversations already had for a couple of reasons. One, they left more money in Trey's deal, but also got cap savings because they know they need to be able to sign Norman Lott still, and they know they're going to need to be able to maybe have a little bit of money available for a free agent at some point this year when you identify a need or a vet gets cut like a couple of years ago with T-Sizzle, Chiefs legend Terrell Suggs. I'm sure Ravens fans are going to like that one. I don't care. Something like that. But also, that money can do what? It can be rolled into next year.
Roll it over. Yeah.
So
you have more next year, yeah.
The other part of this is, who's Trey's agent?
I believe the same agent that Trent has, if I'm not mistaken, right? CAA, yeah.
And I believe both of the agents that work with Trey also work with Trent.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
pretty sure that is the
if
case.
I had to guess, there were conversations during the Trey negotiations along the lines of, "Hey, yeah, sweet. I also need to pay him, and we need
Yeah.
to make it work for both parties
Oh yeah.
too."
I mean, talking to the same person, just hey, by the way, I'm glad we shook hands, got this deal done. Let's get another one done.
Well, even
You
before
know?
the handshake was done,
Oh yeah,
it was
definitely. Oh
probably
yeah.
along the lines of, "Cool, gonna get Trey as much as we can, but we also have to
But
leave enough
also,
room to
yeah,
give
have to figure
Trent
out how to
as much
structure
as we
this.
can."
Yeah, so you can get Trent
Because
in it
you
too.
know what he's going to need, especially we saw Sauce Gardner's deal today.
Hmm.
He's at 30.2 AVV, but some of
Yeah.
those guarantees looked a little wonky. Anyway, that deal was also interesting if you're in the NFL news side of the things. Um, that Sauce got a extension done today.
Yeah.
That money was a little different than what I anticipated it being from the guaranteed perspective, but not surprising. But now, pretty much all of the major corners have been paid. Now, Sertan's probably due up again, I think, next year or maybe
Yeah.
the year after, getting close on that
Yeah.
deal.
See, so I think Sertan got paid 2 years
2 years
ago.
ago,
Yeah, and he's
right?
already like outside the top five, I think,
Yeah.
in top
So
paid value now.
now the thing for Kansas City is, like we just talked about, how quickly can we get Trent done?
Yeah.
Now,
As longer you
from
wait.
Trent's side, I don't really feel all that much in a hurry to get it done right this minute. So there's
Yeah.
there's give and
I
take
mean,
to both
because all
sides
the
of that.
other big ones have come up, Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner, like there's not a lot of other huge corners coming up. So I
No,
mean, Trent's gonna dictate the market whether it's in the next month
right.
or the next 6 months.
So
So
with that deal, if you're Kansas City and you're Brett Veach, I look at the Sauce Gardner deal and go, okay, there's the baseline.
yeah,
Now let me move this slider up here a little bit and this one over here a little bit and then move this one back here a little bit and move that one there. What about
structure it
this?
better because we're better at structuring contracts than the Jets
Than the
probably are.
Jets. Yeah. And your owner isn't in the
Yeah.
way all the
Mhm.
time. He kind of just answers the phone and says, how much more money do you need?" kind of
Yeah.
deal, which 67 million in cash over the next 2 years for Trey. It's getting a lot harder to call Clark Hunt cheap, but I still see people doing it. So,
People are still gonna
um
do it. Yeah, people are still gonna do it.
it, it's it's a good problem to have because that means you've evaluated talent correctly in your drafts over the last several years. I saw something along the lines of, I think, four or five of the six that were basically ready to be extended have been extended, and there's still like 8 of the players from one of the drafts on the roster that are either rookies or haven't been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So things like that I have to go find. I think it was Matt Derrick that tweeted that out. So go find Matt, Chiefs
Go
Digest,
find
da
it.
da da
Yeah,
da,
go
all that.
find it.
But that's what you want. You want to make these difficult choices, and you're going to have to move on from some guys
Yeah.
like Joe Tooney. But it's also, and they've moved on. We talked about several other guys, but they also have to pay guys too. And this is
Yeah.
another step in that. It's another piece of your core that gets the deal, that gives him, hey, we respect you and everything you've done, but we also want you to continue to keep going and move forward because we'd like to pay you again here in a few years. So
Right.
I'm good. I'm happy with this. I'm
Yeah.
happy that they got it done. I'm happy for Trey. And this, like I said, it's a deal that both sides probably left the table going, I wish we could have got that, but we didn't.
Yeah.
But also I'm glad we got this, and that's good.
Yeah. So with that, I think that about does it for this episode. There's not much more to talk about. Chiefs are going to training camp next week, so we will be back before then. We promise we will be back to cover training camp at its start and keep on rolling into this summer. Busy
Once
times
that
over here.
kicks, we're back,
Yeah.
boys and
Once we
girls.
got
We
once we
will.
got guys on the field again and real football going on. Oh yeah, you're going to hear from us more. So. But it was great to hop back on, talk some Chiefs, talk some Trey Smith, and yeah, we appreciate everyone for continuing to rock with us. It's going to be another great year, I think, for the Kingdom Says, and we'll get Tom back, and Randy will be here still, and we'll have guests, and it'll be just a real fun time. So, thank you all for so much for tuning in and watching along, subscribing, and everything. Be sure to check us out: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Kingdom Says Pod. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. The Kingdom Says over there. Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever else you get podcasts at. Find us on there. If you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a like. Go subscribe to the YouTube. All that good stuff. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I think that about does it. We will be once again. We will be back sooner than we were last time. Just life and things like that take a toll. But yeah, we got Chiefs football finally upon us, folks, and get ready because it's gonna be a damn good year. So thank you all for tuning in and watching once again, and we will see you guys on the next episode of the Kingdom Set.